Chelsea news. Hello my friends, what's going on? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host. Yeah, and I hope you lot are all doing well today. Are you doing well? Excellent, I'm very pleased to hear that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, the daily series here on Football Therapy, where I go across football news media, see what's being said about the Blues, consolidate it into one manageable package, giving you my opinion, but of course, more importantly, asking for yours. Un, dos, tres, and deux, trois stories today, as per the normal custom. Now, I haven't reported on the Avram Grant story because it's simply not true, and I want to talk about that a little bit. Rhys James Flames returning to training. Basically, that is huge for Chelsea Football Club in terms of how they play and how he could combine with Hakim Ziyech on that right wing. And Thiago Silva. Will Chelsea trigger the 12-month extension? He's been great, of course, but would Chelsea look to bring in another world-class centre-back in his place? First things first, get comfortable, consider subscribing to Football Therapy if you are new to this experience because it's daily content and you might dig it. If you do choose to subscribe, make sure that all important bell notifications icon is switched on. And hey, if you want to show your support, if you want to do me a kindness, please do drop a like. It's that side I think on this video. Yeah man, thank you. As we cruise on into our first story of today's video, and that is talking about Avram Grant. Matt Law has poured cold water all over this rumour that had been circulating around certain news publications. The story was that Roman Abramovich was looking to bring Avram Grant back into the fold to support Frank Lampard as perhaps a sort of senior member of a backroom staff. Yeah, what? Avram Grant. Here's an Instagram, Avram Grant, and he filmed a video talking about, he didn't refute this and say it's not happening, but he says, look, you have to be patient with managers. Basically saying back the manager. I think he likes Frank Lampard, and I think he believes in him, which is nice, but I don't know why we're suddenly all caring about what Avram Grant thinks. Anyway, although perhaps the original incentive was nice, bring in some support, I didn't report on it because I didn't really know where it was coming from. People were asking me in the comments to talk about it, but since Matt Law has come out and tweeted this, I've been ignoring this, but seeing as it won't fully go away, I'm assured on good authority that Chelsea have no plans to bring back Avram Grant in any capacity. Hashtag CFC. So there you go. Not happening. Nada. No Avram Grant. The truth is, it wouldn't change things really. Chelsea have brought in support in the summer, a slightly more senior, perhaps coach in Anthony Barry, and Frank Lampard on the Chelsea website when interviewed for his Ask Frank segment pretty much said how valuable Barry's been since he's been brought in. Chelsea have been they're top of the table in the Premier League for both defending and scoring set pieces. So that's what they needed help with in terms of Frank Lampard's tenure so far, up until that point at least. They were being really vulnerable in set pieces. Chelsea bring in a coach to help that in Anthony Barry. They achieve that, they're now top of the pops for scoring and defending set pieces. Job done! The issue does not lie there. The issue is in how Frank Lampard executes his ideas. Now, he doesn't need some old coach looking over his shoulder, like stirring the pot, putting a spanner in the works. By all accounts, Chelsea Football Club as a organisation, as the board, they're very happy with Frank Lampard's ideas, what he wants to do with the players, how he wants to play football, how he wants to implement the youth. They don't want external ideas coming in, but they're really leaving it up to Frank Lampard himself to see if he can execute these ideas without external influence changing said ideas. How many times can I say ideas? Truth is, jury's still out of Frank Lampard. A lot of people want it to work. We'll have to see what happens. Hopefully he gets time, but you know, if he loses more games, Chelsea will pull the trigger, even with this new extended patience of their long-term project. So there you go, no Avram Grant. Take a deep breath, release, and move on with your lives. Let's move on to the next story in today's video and talk about Rhys Flames. That's right, Rhys James doing God's work on and off the pitch. Rhys has returned to full training and we can expect him to make a return in the Premier League, hopefully against Fulham. Now, this is huge for Chelsea Football Club because Chelsea, when he's on form, Chelsea plays so much better. That's no disrespect to Azpilicueta, who's good, defensively resolute, and can still put in a cross, but Reece James, we need that engine back, especially recently watching Azpilicueta get roasted down that right-hand flank. it's not just about recovery pace and getting forward and putting those crosses in. Rhys James had a really pleasing instantaneous chemistry with new right winger signing Hakim Ziyech, who had the ability against Morecambe to sort of flex his muscles and feel his way back into the team. The way they combine down that right hand flank is magnificent. You have Ziyech coming on the inside onto his left boot, playing diagonal balls to the far post. You've got Reece James going on the overlap down the outside to the byline, putting in crosses with his right foot to the near post. It's the perfect combination, and the way they dovetail and combine generally down that right hand flank is massive for Chelsea. To be honest, you could expect similar quality with Ben Chilwell and Pulisic or Hudson-Odoi. I will be doing a match preview for the Fulham game, so make sure you're keeping it locked to football therapy for that, because that will be really interesting, especially after Fulham playing really well against Tottenham yesterday. But yeah, it's a massive if Rhys James sees his return. Hopefully we can see all these beautiful combinations down that right hand side between Rhys James, Hakim Ziyech, and indeed Kai Havertz if he plays that inside right number 8. Listen to those names, man. If they're on form, Ziyech, James, Havertz, if they've got energy, which they should soon, that would be absolutely devastating. Having the appropriate fullback to unlock a side is so important. Now I'm just going to quickly remind you of something, and it might seem like an obscure thing to bring up because Emerson hasn't been good of late, but under Maurizio Sarri, Emerson Palmieri was a very good left back. And remember, for the first part of Maurizio Sarri's reign, he played Marcos Alonso at left back, and he kept breaking down attacks down the left hand side, which sounds peculiar because he was an attacking fullback, but he didn't combine well with Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who was playing in that left 8 at the time, and of course Eden Hazard, our left winger. He kept playing the wrong balls, he wasn't on the same wavelength, and there was no chemistry between those two players. When Emerson Palmieri dropped in, the whole left side was unlocked, which sounds funny because Emerson's not like a world-class left back, but his play style completely unlocked Hazard and Ruben. They started combining excellently, it was really exciting, high octane, dynamic. Eden Hazard used to celebrate those of Emerson because he was finally understanding, or the left back was finally understanding what he wanted. And the rest was history. We finished third and won the Europa. Now this sounds like I might be slagging off Azpilicueta, but I'm not. I think he's very good at what he does. But in terms of the right chemistry attacking going forward, Rhys James, Hakim Ziyech, and eventually Kai Havertz, similar situation, a similar story. Let's hope it has a similar positive outcome. Alright then, let's move on to our next and final story of today's Chelsea news video. And that is Thiago Silva. Revelation when he came into Chelsea Football Club, the 36-year-old that many, including myself, was concerned about in terms of how he would perform in the Premier League. Thiago Silva keeps himself in incredibly good nick. His body is a temple. He does like yoga, he does like extracurricular football studies on his time off around his family. The model professional, I think he realises he's the wrong side of 35 now, and he does all this stuff to ensure, basically like what Ronaldo and Zlatan do, you know what I mean? Making sure they're in good nick. So Chelsea are very pleased with him, understandably. Chelsea's recent, perhaps, woes as a team you can't really put on Thiago Silva. He's been excellent, passing with both feet, defensively very smart and lucid to what's going on around him. But he is on a 1+1 deal, so technically his contract runs out in a few months. Now it looked like Chelsea were very happy with him and are always likely to extend his deal by 12 months. But they may be considering to not do that to free up his wages to bring in a world-class centre-half that's a bit younger. Now, personally, what I'd do is I would extend his contract, give him the additional 12 months, maybe sell a Rudiger, Tomori goes on an extended loan, maybe even get rid of Christensen. I know he's not the favourite Chelsea centre-half at the moment, and bring in another centre-back. So you've got wait, have I sold too many centre-backs? So then you've got Zouma, Thiago Silva, the new guy. But then maybe, who knows, maybe Mark Gurhey comes back as like a 4th choice rotational centre-half. Or, when Xavier Mbuyamba's not quite there yet. Of course, Malang Sarr, by then you'd be able to evaluate his whole loan spell at Porto and see, is he, the guy to come in. Obviously, he's not that tall, Malang Sarr, but he's highly rated, and he's a left-footed centre-back, which, like I always say on this channel, is seen as the holy grail in the Premier League. So it'll be interesting, but the reports in the news are suggesting Chelsea are considering both possibilities. Letting him go and bringing in someone like, being an opportunist and bringing in a sort of Dayot Upamecano or Jose Jimenez, should he be available. Do you know what I mean? That sort of top tier centre-half. or, you know, keep him anyway. Basically, it's not a given that Thiago Silva will stay for a second term. But if you're like me, I hope he does, and I'd be really keen to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on this. So of course, I'd urge you all to get down into the comment section below and comment on all of these stories that I've spoken about today. Feel free to talk about Frank Lampard coaching support in Anthony Barry and the full story of Avram Grant, Rhys James, his importance to the team. Express yourselves, my friends. I want to hear it all. Talk centre backs as well. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like. It really does support me a lot. Consider subscribing if you're new. Enjoy the football, my friends, and I will see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me bitch.